And I'm coming to you live one more time from an undisclosed location hidden deep in the heart of American flyover country. I am Jeffrey Darty. Sorry. I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower. Welcome to the Christian Whistleblower channel. And we got some more podcast excellence for you tonight. And a few years ago, I think it was maybe 3 years ago, I got dragged kicking and screaming into the Mandela effect community. I went on Coast to Coast AM and did a story about the Mandela effect. And now I've been on the Power Hour 3 or 4 times talking about the Mandela effect every time I go on Coast to Coast. I have to give George a Mandela effect update. So I get a lot of Mandela effect stories sent my way, and most of them I don't think are ever Mandela effects, but I got apprised of one today that I was unaware of. And it seems like somebody says, is it a Mandela effect? Well, I say yes and no, yes and no. So I'm not really sure if it's a Mandela effect or not, but yet I think it is a Mandela effect. So we're going to take a look at it. And it has to do with the gentleman peering at me in the background, Ed McMahon. And many of you believe that Ed McMahon was the spokesperson for the Publishers Clearinghouse giveaway. And many of you remember Ed McMahon knocking on people's doors, ringing their doorbells, giving them great big checks as prizes for winning this sweepstakes and this giveaway. The only problem is, ladies and gentlemen, it never happened. But it's more complicated than that because, number one, Mandy says, yes, he did. Ed McMahon did not work for Publishers Clearinghouse. Ed McMahon never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. Ed McMahon had nothing to do with Publishers Clearinghouse. Kimberly says, yes. But Ed McMahon did work for another company called American Family Publishers, who did the same exact thing that Publishers Clearinghouse did. And he worked for them, but Ed McMahon never left the studio and never handed out a check to anyone, according to American Family Publishers. So this gets curiouser and curiouser. This gets stranger and stranger because not only do most of you remember him working for Publishers Clearinghouse giveaway, all of you, I'll bet, remember Ed McMahon knocking on doors, ringing doorbells, and handing out great big, gigantic checks to people in both size and amount. Personally, I remember him working for Publishers Clearinghouse giveaway. Personally, I remember him at people's doors handing out great big checks. Now, reality tells us, and both Publishers Clearinghouse and American Family Publishers, which is no longer in business, tell us that he didn't work for the first and he didn't give out checks through the latter. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is very curious. Is it a Mandela effect? I would say no. Is it a Mandela effect? I would say yes. So as Halo Marquis says, yes and no, yes and no. Yes, he did not work for Publishers Clearinghouse. Yes, he did not work. He did not hand out checks for American Family Publishers, but no, he did work for Publishers Clearinghouse. I remember it. And no, he did hand out those checks. I remember that. Well, Bartel Connect, he's dead now, so it doesn't really matter whether he was human or not. But this is one of those really curious Mandela effect things because some of us clearly remember Publishers Clearinghouse. Some of us clearly remember him handing out those checks. And yet, it never happened. And some of you say, well, it was another company just like that company. You're just misremembering. Yeah, maybe. But the fact is that he didn't hand out checks either. I just don't know. I just don't know. I say yes and no, yes and no. Yes, he did work for a competing company. Yes, it's possible we could be misremembering it. But to misremember him working for PCH and misremember him handing out the checks, I don't know. J.H. Armstrong says, is it AI messing with the timeline? I don't think AI. I think Antichrist, whatever that is, and it could be, it actually is an AI. Daniel said that Antichrist there would be this AI. We could call it Antichrist. So maybe. Cynthia L says, is it CERN? I don't think so much CERN as I think quantum D-wave computers. D-wave computers push reality out of the drum that they call it, big room, super low temperatures, even lower than the lake that I'm doing the polar plunge in. And it drives reality out of that drum. I think it may create ripples across reality. I would say more CERN than I would say more D-wave than I would CERN. But of course, I am not a CERN expert. I'm just saying what I think. And I believe that's Cliff High's take as well, that it would be quantum computing, D-wave computers. And you can also trace the rollout of D-wave with the rollout of the Mandela effect. So I think Cliff is right on that 100%. Is it commercials with false advertising by AI? It's got to be an alternate timeline that some of us were in, some of us weren't. Sometimes we phase back into it, sometimes we phase out of it. Is it a Mandela effect? Yes and no. Yes and no. That's my take on it. What do you think in the chat room? Public Power Vapor Supply says Ed McMahon definitely did publish a clearinghouse in the 80s. Tracy says yes, he did. Mandy very emphatically says yes, he did. Kimberly says yes, he did. J.H. Armstrong is the voice of reason, says, oh, it was another one. Lots of flashy commercials. Tracy says yes. I thought she said he had a big, it says the big check. I misread that for a second. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of racy, but it is late. Mandy, again, very emphatically, yes. Karen totally remembers that. Of course, we heard that Ed McMahon is not human. Well, not anymore because he's dead. Mandy says he even made a rap about it, which was cringy, but worth the watch. Very, very interesting. Are we living in an organic simulation? Very well may be. Leslie says, I remember for certain. Stacy most emphatically, triple exclamation point, says, yes, he did. What would Bill Clinton say if you asked him about it? I did not touch that lady's check. Ask the rods. Why not? Yes, he did, says Electra Magnetica. On channel 48, every other commercial, you could be next. Oh, this is fun when you get interesting and smart people remembering things different ways. I remember you could win the check with his picture on it, says Mark, aka Pathfinder with a PH Solutions. Okay, so let's break this up. First of all, we're going to say, and for the neophytes in our audience, Rod, show me a yes, please. Rod, show me a no, please. Thank you. All right. Did Ed McMahon work for Publisher Clearinghouse? Oh, wow. That's crazy. They say yes. Isn't that something? Did Ed McMahon ever hand out big checks? Yes. Did Ed McMahon have a big check? Yes, he did. Interesting, ladies and gentlemen. So, is Publishers Clearinghouse trying to hide something? No, so maybe no. American Family was a competitor to Publishers Clearinghouse. And I saw a video of Dick Clark and Ed McMahon working for American Family Publishers, but that doesn't preclude them working for Publishers Clearinghouse too, because people change. So no, American Family was a competitor to Publisher Clearinghouse. Electra, the one that I saw McMahon and Clark do was for American Family Publishers. Ed McMahon, I think I may be able to give you some broadcast excellence here. Ed McMahon, Dick Clark commercial. Let's see if I can amaze you with this. Let's see if I can amaze you with this. Yeah, I'm going to be able to amaze you. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? How about that? You ready? And it's not for Publishers Clearinghouse. It's for American Family Publishers. So let's show you this right now, ladies and gentlemen. Give me just a second as they wait patiently. So here we go. I think I'm sharing it. And here it is. You should be able to hear it here.
Free very soon. Chevy Chase. Well, looks like a wrap for the day. Why is it they're so particular about the name? The name. I get more notes about that. The name, you're right. Well, it makes a lot of sense. American Family, right? America. We don't give this money away in Russia. We give the money away right here. When it's we give away like $60-70 million right in this country, America. Well, think about it for a minute. 35 years ago, Philadelphia. Who was your next door neighbor? You. Family. Right. Who helped me get on the Tonight Show? Johnny Carson. Family. All right. Everybody around is family. Jeff. Every shoot I've ever had Jeff. Let's call him the cinematographer, the cameraman, but cinematographer. Every shoot. Look at that little lady. Amy's 11 years we've been doing this commercial.
But anyway, so you can see that it was American Family Publishers that Clark and Ed McMahon worked for. So it just makes it even more crazy because there seems like there was a timeline. It seems like there was a timeline where they did do it for American Family Publishers. And it seems like there's a timeline where they did do it for Publishers Clearinghouse Giveaway. So it's just a conundrum, ladies and gentlemen, wrapped in a riddle, encased by a mystery. So very, very interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Is it a Mandela effect? I say yes, and I say no. So what do you say? Do you remember him and the Publishers Clearinghouse? Do you think it's just misremembering? Well, that's what makes the Mandela effect so interesting, is that some of us know it because we were in a certain timeline, and some of us don't because we were not in a certain timeline. One thing we know for sure, ladies and gentlemen, is that things aren't the way that we think they are. Things aren't like they used to be and never have been. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. Is the Mandela effect real? Well, it's certainly real strange. One thing is certain, though. It's time for us to guide our own spirits, master our own ascensions, and be our own guru. It's time for us to ask questions. It's time for us to question answers. And it's more than time for you and I to unindoctrinate ourselves.